Yo, what's good? Welcome back to another video. Let's talk about something different today. What you shouldn't do when making an anime Roblox game. What better way to discuss this than to bring up a once popular Bleach game on Roblox? Type Souls. Type Souls was originally created to be a closed community game. For those of you who don't know, a closed community is a game that's intended to be played out by a set amount of people in waves over time. So it's not really a surprise that it would feel as if it was missing components when it became public. In Type Souls, upon starting the game, you would have the choice to pick which race you want to start. These races, Quincy, Soul Reapers, and Arancars, each had their own unique builds with different types of abilities you could pick from by progressing in the game. Each race had their fun, and the game on public release was one large gang simulator.
Brand new bag for pro, but I didn't pay for it. I don't like spending that cash cause I'm trying to savor it. Secret formula, I went and put flavor in. I do not.
Unfortunately, the fun would not last long when the developers started making questionable changes to the balancing of the races. One race would get buffed while the other got nerfed to absolute oblivion. Most Arancars, for example, wouldn't even get multiple moves for their partial res, while Soul Reapers had around 3 minimum for their Shikai. Another example, in a Soul Reaper's progression, you would have to progress towards your Shikai, and eventually your Bankai. The equivalent of that for an Arankar was progressing towards your partial res and eventually your full res. For a Quincy, there was no Shikai equivalent, and instead you were expected to either grind unreasonable requirements for your vault standing, which is a Bankai equivalent, or somehow get Let's, which was a special Quincy ability, but the requirements were near impossible. To be specific, you had to obtain 10 fragments, with the chance of getting 1 was 2 out of 1,000. And get this, if you died with the fragments, those fragments you obtained would be lost, and you would not get them back. On numerous occasions, races were shadow buffed while others were nerfed, and a middle ground could never be met. Why is this so? Well, the working theory is, the developer who worked on balancing at the time, Ren, rarely played the game and relied on the thoughts of CC players instead of the public player base. If you've ever been in the Type Souls Discord, everyone who were CC players and higher view the public player base as mere cattle. But okay, objectively speaking, with no emotion put behind this analysis, I'm not upset. Unbalanced games are found everywhere, right? Okay, maybe I am a bit upset. During the public release of the game, the only thing to focus on was you and your progression. After getting more into the game and saying, hey, I think this game is for me, then you decide to join your race Discord server. This is the part where reality sets in. You are nothing but a tiny insignificant worm compared to CC players and those who had specs. There are these special items in the game called skill boxes and fragments that you could obtain to get stronger. Ironically, CC players were at the time center of all trade for these items, because they had items public players didn't even know how to get their hands on. This was a problem during the early days because the CC players could set the trading scene however they wanted to. They had most things players wanted and could ask for anything in return, no matter how unreasonable. If you thought that was bad, well, spec players with server announcement access would announce giveaways they would host, but they wouldn't be giveaways at all? In order to enter a giveaway, you would have to pay them to enter one. Plot twist, these aren't how giveaways work. You don't pay for something to have the chance to get something in a giveaway. Gatekeeping ran rampant through the community. I personally understand wanting the player base to explore the game for themselves and have them find out how to obtain things. However, if this was their intention, they wouldn't have shunned people who shared information regarding in-game progression, while CC players knew everything and exploited that fact by grinding the leaderboard and obtaining in-game status faster. Even in the later days, a YouTuber could get banned from the game just for uploading a video regarding a Bankai obtainment method, and if they didn't get banned, the devs would outright change the requirements for it. I think the devs understood something crucial, which brings me to my next topic. Rather than going into a segment regarding the suspicious accusations Type Soul were accused of, like lying about the rates of the different items you had to pay to roll for, I'll simply state one of the major flaws the game had: a lack of content. This is what many feared while spending only a week leveling to the highest rank, elite grade. The only updates that were coming in were more buffs and nerfs that virtually no one cared about. I specifically remember an update that came out for the Quincy's, which were the Shikai equivalent we finally got well after the game's release. And to no one's surprise, it was a reskin of one of the spec user's abilities, just very nerfed. At times, it seemed like the developer in charge of these updates were not even a dev, but a copy developer who just knew how to change values. By the time the Conquest update even came out, which allowed you to go to war with other clans to fight for rewards, Type Soul had already been leaked by one of their own developers. As a regular member of the community, suggestions were locked and only available as a CC player, which is an interesting decision. Wouldn't you want the people that play your game to suggest what they would like to see next? This didn't occur to the devs because they had the brain capacity of a fruit fly. If I can leave this video off with a lesson, listen to your community and don't be ignorant. That's all for this video. If you enjoy my content, leave a like and subscribe. Peace out.